Chapter 20. Ian and I have been spending a lot of time together, so I was devastated when he told me he had to leave to go out to sea on his boat for a week. I have been keeping busy at work and seems like the time is going by faster. This morning I have a lot of files to look over, so I decide to go into the office early. When I get into the office, I check my messages and decide to send Ian a text, even though I know he won't get it until he is closer inland. The text says, "Can't wait to have my legs wrapped around you." I am doing research on my computer for a case that is coming up when I remember my dad and Ian's conversation. I go to the search engine and decide to type in Ian Haynes, Wisconsin, and nothing pops up. So I delete it and type Haynes Fishing, Wisconsin, and it brings up several articles. I scroll down, but other than normal business articles, there's nothing that catches my eye. Abby walks into my office, and I quickly minimize the screen. "Here's your mail," she says, handing me a stack of white envelopes and one large brown one. I open up the brown one and pull out the paper that has the letters arranged on it, like the one I received previously. It says, "He's not always going to be around to protect you." "What is it?" Abby asks, after seeing the shocked look on my face. I hand her the piece of paper, not able to speak. "Another one, Hollyn. I think you need to take these to the police," she says, concerned. "Somebody is really starting to piss me off. I do not appreciate these pranks. I have enough going on to deal with," I say with anger, not wanting to admit these messages have frightened me. I take the paper from Abby and shove it in my drawer with the other one. "But what if they aren't pranks, Hollyn? You could be in danger," she says with a concerned look on her face. "I am not in danger," I say to Abby, but trying to convince myself more. I quickly change the subject and tell Abby about what happened at dinner with my parents. I haven't had a chance to talk to her because I want to spend every second with Ian. "Wow, it sounds like they don't like Ian," Abby says. "I have lived my life with them telling me what to do in picking my college. The one thing I did get to decide was becoming a lawyer." "You are one hell of a lawyer too," she says, sitting on the edge of my desk. "I thought their controlling ways would have changed since I am a grown woman and finished school. At least I had hoped so. I am not going to let them run Ian off." "Damn, girl, sounds like you really love him," Abby says, sliding off my desk. "I think I do. I've never been in love before, but I'm sure this is what it feels like," I say. I finish up work and decide to take a run to relieve some stress and clear my head. I'm running, listening to my iPod, when the next thing I know, I am at Ian's dock. I stand there for a minute thinking about the day I see Ian on the boat looking like a god, and then I see Bess walking around the dock, and she walks up to me. "Hollyn, how are you?" she asks. My eyes focus on her t-shirt. I notice it is one of Ian's, and I can faintly smell his scent on it. "Where the hell did you get that?" I ask, pointing to the shirt. She looks down at the shirt with a grin. "I got it from Ian." "You need to stay away from him," I say, putting my face into hers. "Ian wants someone who can please him. And sweetie, I know how to please him," she says with a wicked grin on her face. "Oh, the town knows of your experience, Bess. If you don't keep your hands off of Ian, I'm going to slap that smug grin off of your face." Her grin fades away, and then she smiles. She pulls the shirt over her head, throws it at me, and walks away in just her bra and skinny jeans. I roll my eyes at her and start running back to the apartment. The scent of the shirt hits my nostrils, and I turn my nose up in disgust. It smells like Ian mixed with Bess's perfume. I walk up to a nearby dumpster and throw it in. Every day that grows closer to Ian coming home gets longer. He will be home in 2 days, so I decide to surprise him with dinner. So I decide to go shopping at the mall for new lingerie and candles. I am browsing the racks in the lingerie store when I come across a black fishnet bra and a thong set. I hold it up and think it is perfect. I grab some black fishnet stockings to go with it, to go with my black stilettos. I am approaching the counter to check out when Paige approaches me. "That's an interesting choice," she says, looking down at the lingerie in my hand. "It's for Ian, fishnet theme," I say with a chuckle. She smiles and says, "I haven't seen him around. Where is he?" "Working. He will be back in a couple of days," I say, handing my lingerie to the sales lady. I look at her and say, "You never told me who you were with the other night at the pub. Just a guy I met. I have to go, but call me and we can do lunch, she says, turning and walking out of the store. When I get home, Abby and I decide to go to the beach. I figure I could use some sun so my skin has the sun-kissed look in the lingerie. I put on my new 2-piece bikini I bought while I was at the mall and a white swimsuit cover. I grab my towel, sun hat, and sunscreen. Then I hear the doorbell ring. I walk into the living room as Abby is handed a dozen roses and signs for them. "Hollyn, these are for you," she says, handing the flowers to me. I sit them on the kitchen counter and look at the card, wondering who they could be from. The card just reads, "See you soon." "Who are they from?" Abby asks. "The card doesn't have a name on it," I answer her, still looking down at the card. I grab my phone off of the kitchen counter, hoping to see a text from Ian saying he had come home early. I look down at the screen of my phone, disappointed when I see I have no new messages. We drive to the beach in my convertible with the sun shining down on us and the wind in our hair. The beach is crowded today. We finally find a spot, and I lay my towel down and take off my swimsuit cover. "There's a man over there checking you out," Abby says as she lays her towel down beside of mine. I look over in the direction Abby was looking and see Tyler. He sees me look over at him, and he walks in our direction. "Hollyn, you haven't called me," he says, looking around the beach. "Where's Ian?" "He is working," I say, laying down on my towel. "Well, I sure as hell wouldn't leave you alone, especially looking like that," he says. Even though his sunglasses shield his eyes, I know he is looking at my body, and that starts to make me feel self-conscious. "You really do look great," he says, and then walks away. "Wow, Hollyn, he is really into you," Abby says, standing up. I am certainly not into him. I am finding out he is a jerk, I say. "I'm going for a walk down the beach. Do you want to come?" she asks. I shake my head and lay back in the warmth of the sun on my towel, closing my eyes. I see the ring of the sun behind my eyelids, and I can see Ian's staring back at me, and the sound of the ocean takes me back to our date on the beach with dancing, and it being just him and me. I start missing him more and ache more for him to come home. After a good 20 minutes, Abby comes bouncing back from her walk. "Look who I ran into," she says. I look up, and Austin walks up from behind her and sits beside of me. "I figured you would be at work," I say, looking at him. "It's slow today, so Dad let me off early. What happened at dinner the other night?" "Mom and Dad haven't been themselves," Austin says, laying back on my towel. After I told Austin what happened, I suddenly feel drained, either from the sun or emotionally, so we decide to go back to the apartment and order in dinner. I go into my bedroom to change, and I notice that someone had been in there. "Abby, were you in my room?" I yell down the hall. "No, I haven't been in there," she yells back. I walk over to my chest where my lingerie drawer is open, and I noticed it was scattered like someone had been looking for something. I notice my shoes are scattered on the floor. I walk over to the bathroom, and my drawers in my bathroom had been opened and things thrown onto the floor. "What the hell happened in here?" Abby asked, walking in with Austin behind her. "I don't know. I know I didn't leave it like this," I say. I pick my hairbrush up out of the floor and place it onto the vanity. "Is anything else out of place in the apartment?" I ask Abby. "My room is fine, and as far as I can tell, so is the rest of the apartment," Abby says. "Hollyn, you need to report this to the police," Austin says, handing me an earring he picked up out of the floor. "I'm going to go to the office and get those letters to take to the police station and file a report," I say to Abby. "What letters?" Austin asks. "Abby will explain it to you," I say, grabbing a change of clothes from my closet. After I change my clothes, I grab my keys and purse. I drive to the office to retrieve the letters. As I'm grabbing the letters from the drawer of my desk, I am suddenly grabbed from behind and shoved to the floor. I go to get up when I feel a sting to my face. I look up again and see someone in a black hoodie and black pants, but I can't make out their face. I know I haven't seen this person before, and I can tell it is a man. I go to run for the door, but I'm grabbed by my hair and thrown to the floor. He walks toward me, and I kick my leg, trying to get away, but he grabs my leg and pulls me closer. "I told you I would see you soon," he says. I realize I've heard that voice, and I remember the card with the roses sent to me earlier. "You cost me a lot of money, bitch." I feel another sting to my face from his fist. I'm going to teach you a lesson, you dirty whore. Then I'm kicked in the stomach with what looks like black steel-toed boots. All I can think of is Ian, his gorgeous face, and how I haven't gotten to tell him I love him. Please stop. Why are you doing this? I cry out. I find the strength to attempt to crawl to the door, but I feel another kick to my stomach. I double down over in pain, and I'm finding it hard to breathe. He walks around me, and I'm kicked in my back not once, but repeatedly, to where I lose count. Suddenly, my pain is gone, so I try to move closer to my desk because I have a letter opener that I could use, but I can't move. I start to panic as the room starts to go dark. His face is close to mine, and I can feel his warm breath on my cheek, and a familiar scent hits me of cigarettes and cheap whiskey. Sean, I grasp. Even though I can't feel it, I see his hand grab me between my thighs, and the last thing I hear is, I can see why he's keeping you around. I bet you do have a sweet little cunt. As I'm about to go into complete darkness, I see a man, a very angry man, running in, and then his smell hits me. Ian. Chapter 21. It has been 5 days, and I am emotionally drained. I have been pushing the cruise to fill our quota of lobster so I can get back to Hollyn. I can't stand being away from her this long. I haven't slept hardly at all because I'm scared I will have one of my fucking nightmares. I haven't had as many since Hollyn has been staying with me, but if I do, they aren't that bad because she wakes me up, and she always knows how to get my mind off of it. She is truly my angel. Jay comes in, interrupting my thoughts. Ian, we are almost at our quota. Pull the last net up and see how many we have that fits the measurement to keep. I want to get the hell out of here and go home, I say, walking behind Jay, hoping to do the final count. We only need 20 more lobsters, so I watch as they pull up the net onto the boat. I stand there, anxiously waiting. Then I spot at least 30 in the net. I stand there hovering as they measured, and we got 23 keepers. I tell Jay to throw the others back in the water, and I run, pulling the anchor up. After 8 hours, we finally pull up to the dock. I look at my phone, and it says I have a text. I check it, and it's from Hollyn, saying she wants to wrap her legs around me. I grab my jacket and hurry home to take a shower. After I get dressed, I walk to my motorcycle, thinking how I'm going to bury myself into her so deep. I drive as fast as I can to Hollyn's apartment and knock on the door when Abby answers. Ian, I didn't think you were coming back for a couple more days, she says. Where's Hollyn? I wanted to surprise her, I say, looking around the apartment. She's at the office, she says. I can tell by the look on her face that something isn't right. She explains to me about the letters and the flowers, and after she is finished, I have a really bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. I run out of the apartment. Instead of waiting on the elevator, I run down 4 flights of stairs, skipping 2 steps at a time. I get on my motorcycle, driving through red lights as horns are honking at me. When I pull up, I see the lights on, so I run in. I sling the door open. I can't breathe, and my heart stops beating. I see Hollyn laying on the floor lifeless. She has blood running down her mouth, and Sean has his filthy hands all over her. I feel overwhelming anger. I run over to him, and with a tight fist, I throw a single blow, sending him to the ground. I grab his sweatshirt with one hand and throw punch after punch with the other one. My vision starts to turn black, and the only thing I feel is the sting in my hand after each blow is given to Sean's face. Then I feel hands wrap around my arms, pulling me back. My chest is rising and falling rapidly from being out of breath, and my heart feels like it's going to come out of my chest. When my vision comes back, I blink to focus, and I see Hollyn. Her body is limp, and her eyes are closed. I run over to her with tears streaming down my face. Hollyn, don't you leave me, I yell. I take her head, placing it in my lap. I place tender kisses on her lips. I've just found you, Angel, so you can't leave me, I plead. The paramedics rush in and push me out of the way. I stand there with my hands shaking as I watch them put her neck in a brace and load her on a backboard. When we get to the hospital, they call hospital security to drag me away so the doctors can work on her. I get my phone out of my pocket with my hands still shaking and call Abby to tell her in Austin to get to the hospital. I pace the waiting room, rubbing my hands through my hair when a doctor walks in. "I am looking for the family of Hollyn Jacobs," she says. "That's me," I say with no hesitation. "Sir, I'm Dr. Davis. Hollyn is stable for now, but she's going upstairs for surgery." "Surgery?" I ask. "She has internal bleeding that we need to stop," she says. "Internal bleeding? Fuck!" I yell. Dr. Davis places her hand on my arm. "We are doing everything that we can to save her. I will come in with updates once we know more." My heart feels like it's ripping out of my chest. I grab my chest and sit down in the chair looking at the floor with my hands in my hair. I can't lose her. There will be nothing left of me. I look up when Abby and Austin walk in. "Have you heard from the doctor yet?" Abby asks, sitting beside of me. "She's in surgery," I say, standing up and pacing again. "Did you call your parents, Austin?" I ask. "Yes, they are on their way," he says, sitting beside of Abby, holding her hand. "Fuck," I yell, and Abby gets up and hugs me. "I know I love her too," she says. Love, I think to myself. I've never experienced love before. I think of the feeling I got when I saw her lying on the floor, the thought of never holding her again or kissing her perfect lips. If that is love, then yes, I fucking love that woman. Abby lets me go, sitting back down beside of Austin. Then Hollyn's parents walk in the waiting room, and I notice Mark is holding Heidi up. "You need to have that checked in, Ian," Abby says, looking down at my hand. "It is swollen and starting to bruise, but I don't feel pain in it, because all of the pain I feel is in my chest." "I am not going anywhere in case the doctor comes back," I spit at her. I can tell she's holding back from saying something out of that smart-ass mouth of hers, but instead she says, "I'm going to get coffee, and I will bring you some back." The waiting and pacing are starting to get to me. It is driving me crazy, thinking of Hollyn upstairs getting cut open, having God knows what done to her. I can't be there to protect her or tell her it is going to be okay. I start to think of how I tried to push her away, and now she is the beat of my fucking heart, and if hers stops, then mine will too. After waiting for what seems like hours, I start to feel the pain in my hand, but it quickly goes away when the doctor walks into the waiting room. We all stand up. "Hollyn is out of surgery. She is in critical condition but stable," Dr. Davis says. "Just tell us if she's going to be fucking okay," I spit at her, avoiding the glare that Heidi is giving me. "All I can say is that she's definitely fighting for something, or someone," she says, looking at me. I run my hands through my hair. "We stopped the internal bleeding, but she had suffered an extensive injury to her spine. We will have to wait and see if it did any permanent damage after she wakes up," she says. "You should really get that checked out," she says, looking at my hand. "When can we see her?" I ask, ignoring her comment. "She is on the 3rd floor. You can go up to see her now," she says. We take the elevator to the 3rd floor and walk to the nurse's station. The nurse tells us she is in room 314, and I run to the door. I walk in and see her laying there with a tube in her mouth, helping her breathe. There are wires and tubes all around her, and I want nothing more for her to open those beautiful gray eyes. I walk over to the bed and fall to my knees, taking her hand into mine. Dr. Davis walks in, and I notice she's holding a bandage and a bag of ice. She walks over to me and takes my hand, wrapping it with the bandage. "You need to have this x-rayed. Keep this ice on it," she says, handing me the bag of ice. After Dr. Davis leaves, Hollyn's mom Heidi walks up to me with her back straightened and a look of authority in her face. She looks down at me through those piercing dark eyes. "Ian, I'm grateful that you got to go to Hollyn when you did, but this is a family matter, and we would like some time alone with her." I look up at her, shaking inside but never letting Hollyn's hand go. "Yes, Miss Jacobs, you are her mother, but I care for Hollyn just as much as anyone in this room. Ian, do you think your relationship is really going to go anywhere? You've already broken her heart once, and I'm sure that won't be the last." I am really shaking inside, feeling the anger jolt through my body. I stand up slowly, looking at her. "You are her mother, and I respect that, but you don't know anything about me. I know more about you than what you think, Ian. Hollyn is a strong woman, so don't think I'm going to stand by and watch you break her," she says with a smirk. Out of respect for Hollyn, I'm not going to argue with you here, but Mrs. Jacobs, I'm not going anywhere, I say, sitting back down. It has been a couple of days, and Hollyn hasn't woken up yet. But the doctors did take the breathing tube out. Other than leaving after being threatened to be strapped in a wheelchair and taken downstairs to get my hand examined, I haven't left her side, and I can tell it pisses Heidi off. I know as much as it kills her, she's not going to have me kicked out because she knows Hollyn would never forgive her. I have been sleeping in a chair as close to Hollyn's bed as I can get. I am asleep with my head on Hollyn's bed, holding her hand, when Abby walks in and taps me on my shoulder. "Ian, you look like hell and you need a break," she says. I am not leaving her. What if she wakes up? I say, sitting back in the chair. "You are a stubborn-ass man. Here, I brought you stuff to shave and take a shower. Believe me, you will be doing Hollyn and all of us a favor," she says, handing me a bag. I rub my hand against my jaw and it's starting to feel scruffy. I walk to the bathroom door and turn toward Abby. "Stay with her until I get out," I say. After I shave, I unwrap the bandage on my hand. I get in the shower, letting the water run down my face, which brings on the exhaustion I have been hiding. I get out of the shower and rewrap my hand. I walk back into Hollyn's room, and seeing her lying there so helpless and innocent hits me so hard, I feel like I'm going to fall to my knees. I make my way over to the chair by Hollyn's bed to do my daily routine. I hold her hand, beg her to wake up, and tell her every evening what the sunset looks like, hoping she will open her eyes to see it. Chapter 22. "Hollyn, baby, open your eyes," I hear him say. "Please don't leave me," he says. I hear the voice of the man who saved me, the man who owns me, the man who I lived for. I hear Ian. I try to open my eyes to let him know I am here. The gravity that is keeping my eyes shut is too strong for me to go against. Then I fall back into darkness. When I wake up again, I smell his scent, and I know he is near. I try to open my eyes, and this time, the gravity isn't so strong, and I feel my eyelashes flutter. I start to see light through the slits in my eyes, but it is bright, and my head is pounding, so I quickly shut them back. After a few more times of me trying to open my eyes, I see pale green walls and monitors through blurry vision. I feel Ian's touch on my arm, then my vision clears and I see him. "Hollyn, baby," he says. I try to speak, but my mouth feels like I swallowed cotton and nothing is coming out. I finally manage to say the word drink. I watch Ian grab a cup, bringing it to me. I take a sip of water, feeling the cool wetness flow down my mouth, and it tastes so good. Ian places his soft lips on mine, kissing me, which sends a sting into my lip, but I ignore it because right now at this moment, I just want to be with him. We stare at each other, taking each other in. I look down and notice his hand is wrapped in an ace wrap. Before I can ask him what happened, the door opens and a doctor walks in. "Hollyn, it's nice to see you awake. I am Dr. Davis," a small, light brown-haired woman says. "My head hurts," I whisper. "You've been asleep for a couple of days, so that is expected. We will give you some medicine for it," she says. "What happened?" I ask. "Angel, you were attacked in your office," Ian answers. I look at Ian confused, then I start to remember. "Someone was in my room," I say. "I told you to put that damn spare key somewhere else, Hollyn," Ian yells, scolding me. I grab my head, wincing in pain, and then I say, "I went to my office to retrieve the threatening letters to take to the police." "Can you remember anything else, Hollyn?" Dr. Davis asks. I look at Dr. Davis, then to Ian. I was grabbed from behind, thrown to the floor, and punched in my face. I reach up, rubbing my cheek, and it stings. I look down at my hands, which are bruised. The man in a black hoodie sweatshirt and the smell of cigarettes and heavy whiskey comes back to me. It's like he's standing right next to me, which makes me shake inside. I pause and look up at Ian. "It was Sean," I say, trying to sit up, but I can't. "Ian, hand me a mirror," I demand. Ian walks over and picks up a mirror lying on the sink. He hands it to me, and I hold it up, looking at my face. Both of my eyes have large yellow and dark purple bruises, but my left eye took most of the blows, and it is almost swollen shut. My left jaw looks like I have stuffed a dozen marshmallows in my cheek. My nose is bruised, and my upper lip is swollen and cut. I throw the mirror on the bed beside of me and start to cry. I don't want Ian seeing me like this. He won't want me anymore. As if he could read my mind, he says, "You're as beautiful as ever, Angel." I turn my head away from him, not believing he could still find me attractive. "Hollyn, I look at these cuts and bruises on your face, and they represent you are brave, a fighter, and most of all, a survivor. Baby, to me, that is the sexiest thing ever," he says, placing his hand gently on my cheek. I reach my hand up, grabbing his hair, to pull him in for a hard kiss, and I moan from the pain. I don't think I could love this man any more than I do right now. We are interrupted when Dr. Davis clears her throat. We pull our lips away from each other, and Ian sits back. She shines a light in my eyes and checks my vitals. "The trauma you have suffered from the attack is going to take some time to recover from. You lost a lot of blood from internal bleeding, which we stopped with the surgery." She walks around to the end of the bed and uncovers my feet. She looks down at my legs, and I notice a concerned look come across her face. "Hollyn, you suffered a minor spinal injury," she says, and the images of being kicked in the back flood through my mind, and I try to move my legs, but they don't move. "Are you saying I won't be able to walk again?" I ask, Dr. Davis looking up at her. "Your back needs time to heal, and once the swelling goes down, we will know more. Let's take it one day at a time," she says, walking to the side of my bed. I start to feel like I'm suffocating, thinking of not being able to walk again. I look at Ian, thinking how I won't be able to feel the pleasure of being with him. He takes me in his arms, and I feel myself being able to breathe again. I look up at him, with tears streaming down my face. "I remember you running in," I say. "I walked in that office and saw you lying on the floor helpless, and that fucker was sitting over top of you. I suddenly feel dirty thinking of Sean's hands on me. Jesus, Hollyn, if I hadn't come back sooner, I can't imagine what," he says, stopping himself from finishing the sentence. I look down at his hand with a bandage on it again and ask, "Is that how you hurt your hand?" "Yes, they said it was a minor sprain," he says, holding it up. The door opens up to my room. My parents, Austin and Abby, walk in. "It's about time you woke up, sis," Austin says. "You had us worried, baby doll," my dad says. "You stubborn woman. If you would just have went to the police when I told you to," Abby scolds me. My mom looks at Abby. This isn't the time to yell at her. She walks over to the side of the bed. She bends down, giving me a hug. "Sweetie, we are all just so happy that you're awake," she says with a smile. "What happened to Sean?" I ask, looking up at Ian. "I knocked his ass unconscious. Then the cops came in and stopped me from killing that fucker," Ian says. "Ian, watch your mouth," my mother says, scolding him. "I had called the cops after Ian left the apartment and explained to them what was going on," Abby says. I look up at Ian, and suddenly I feel exhausted. My eyes grow heavy, and as much as I fight them to stay open, they send me into familiar darkness. For the next few days, I go in and out of consciousness from the medicine they are giving me for pain. Each time I wake up, I can feel myself growing stronger. I was able to give my statement to the police, and they told me they would keep in touch. The next time I open my eyes, I look at the clock, and it is noon. I look over and see Ian asleep in the chair beside of me. He looks so peaceful. I am lying there, drinking all of him in, wishing I could be closer to him. I know he won't lay in the bed with me in fear of hurting me. His eyes slowly open, and he smiles. "Hey," he says, stretching. "Hey yourself," I say, smiling at him. "How are you feeling?" he asks, getting up and sitting on the edge of my bed. "Better now that you are closer to me," I say, holding his hand. A young man walks in my room. "Mrs. Jacobs, my name is Josh. I am your physical therapist." I want to get up, I say, irritated. He walks over to the bottom of my bed, pulling the sheet up to uncover my legs. He bends each one very slowly. "Your legs are weak from not being able to use them. I'm going to do some exercises to help strengthen them," he explains. After a few more repetitions, the therapist takes his hands, grasping my left calf muscle to massage it. I look over at Ian watching the therapist, and I can see the crease between his eyes. When the therapist moves up my leg to my thigh, he balls his hands up in tight fist and proceeds to kick him out. "Sir, you have to let me do my job to help Hollyn recover," the therapist says, looking aggravated. "You don't have to have your hands on her like that. You don't know what she just went through," he yells at him. He takes a deep breath, closing his eyes, and when he opens them, his expression is softer. "Tell me what to do, and I will do it. Nobody but me is going to place their hands on her again." I watch as the therapist stands beside of Ian, instructing him on what places to pay the closest attention to. Ian moves his hands up and down my thigh muscle, and the realization that he is touching me makes my body scream to feel the warmth of his hands. I lay my head back, thinking of Ian's hand sliding up and down my slit when I moan. I open my eyes to Ian and the therapist staring down at my feet in amazement. When I look down to see what they are looking at, I see my toes curling. Ian looks up at me with a huge smile. "I will go get Dr. Davis," the therapist says. A few minutes later, Dr. Davis enters the room. She walks to the end of the bed, taking something out of her pocket. She slides it along the bottom of my feet, and I watch them twitch. "Well, it looks like you're making progress. Hollyn, this is a good sign," she says with a smile, walking out of the room. After a couple of days, the films show the swelling in my spine has gone down. Ian is still giving me his intoxicating physical therapy under the supervision of the therapist, and my legs are becoming stronger. As the feeling comes back in my legs each day, so does the sensation between my thighs. This is making me want and need Ian, sending me closer to an orgasm. The therapist has upgraded my therapy to walking around my room with Ian's help. My legs are still weak and hurt, but I'm just so damn happy to finally be out of that bed. "Sweetie, it's great to see you up," my mom says, entering my room. I look at her, and I don't say anything. I'm still upset at my parents from the way they acted the night at dinner. Ian sits beside me in the chair, and Dr. Davis walks in. "Hollyn, I have great news. Your films have shown that the swelling is almost gone. I have read the progress notes from the physical therapist, and I feel comfortable with discharging you home with supervised help," she says with a smile. I can't help but smile at the thought of leaving the hospital. "You still need to take it easy, but I feel you're going to make a full recovery," Dr. Davis advises. "Oh, that is wonderful, Hollyn. I will make arrangements with Abby to send your things to the house," my mother says. Ian stands up and says, "No, Miss Jacobs. Hollyn is going home with me." "And how do you actually plan on taking care of her? I thought you had a business to run," she spits at him. "I will have Jay run things as long as she needs me. She's going home with me," Ian says. I watch as they argue back and forth, like I'm not even sitting there, and I can tell it's just getting started. "Well, Ian, you did leave her for a week, and look what happened," my mom says. I look over at Ian, and I can see the crease that had formed between his eyes disappear. The expression on his face turns to hurt and guilt. "Last time I checked, Mother, I am a grown woman. I'm going home with Ian. How dare you try and say this is his fault?" I say, looking up at her. My mother grasps with tears in her eyes and walks out of the room defeated. I know I hurt her, but she has to learn that I'm in charge of my life now. I look up to find Ian stunned, looking at me. "What?" I ask him. "You chose me?" he says. I motion for him to come over to me. I grab his belt loops on his jeans, pulling him down so he's on his knees in front of me. "Ian, you are the one who I was thinking of when I was lying on the floor in my office. Do you know what I was most scared of?" I ask him. He looks at me, gently putting his hands on my legs. "No," he says, looking down at the floor. I lift his head so he's looking at me and says, "I was so afraid of never seeing you again." He kisses me, with tears filling his eyes, and asks, "Do you know what I was most afraid of?" I shake my head, and he says, "Never getting to tell you how I feel." "And how do you feel, Ian?" I ask. He stands up and gently pulls me up so I'm standing in his arms. "Hollyn, I love you," he says. I look at him, thinking my pain medicine must be messing with my head because I swear I just heard him say he loved me. He places my hand on his chest over his heart, and I can feel his heart beating faster, and he says, I love you so fucking much my heart hurts. This time, I know I heard him say it. And when I look up at him, tears are flowing down his face. I reach up, taking my hand off of his chest and wipe the tears off of his cheek. I love you too. Chapter 23. Ian wheels me out of the hospital in a wheelchair, due to the hospital policy. It actually states a nurse has to wheel you out, but Ian was insistent on doing it himself. After he urged with the nurse, she came to realize she wasn't going to win, so she just walked out with us. He wheels me up to a black Mercedes GLA crossover. Whose car is this? I ask, confused. Mine. I had Jay pick it up for me and he brought me the keys this morning while you were still sleeping, he shrugs. I figured it would be more comfortable than your car. He walks me over to the passenger side and opens the door. I should have known it was yours. It is black. He smiles, and I think how much I've missed that sexy smile of his. You didn't get rid of your motorcycle, did you? I ask, worried. I was scared to get on it at first, but I've grown to love the speed, and it allows me to be so close to Ian. No, I didn't get rid of the motorcycle, he says. We pull up to Ian's house, and he opens the garage door, and I notice his motorcycle sitting in the garage. He looks over at me. Don't even think about it. It is going to be a long time before you can ride that again. My smile quickly disappears into a pout, and he grins. He pulls into the garage and walks over to help me get out of the car. I walk into his beautiful, spacious living room with a lot of natural light and a dark mahogany flooring. I walk over and sit on the leather sofa. Do you need anything? He asks. I pull him to me with my lips against his and say between kisses, yes, you. Hollyn, as hard as it is for me not to be inside of you, I can't take the risk of hurting you. I pout my lip, and he takes it in between his teeth and releases it. I'm going to order Chinese, then I will give you a shower. After ordering our food, Ian turns on some music and sits beside me on the couch. I lean into his arms. It is nice to have his arms wrapped around me without nurses and doctors walking in. Ian's phone rings, and he looks at it. Shit, it's Jay. I have to take this. He walks into a room with a desk, then the doorbell rings. I slowly get up off the couch and walk over to the front door, grabbing Ian's wallet out of his jacket to get money. When I open it, I notice an old creased picture. I look back, making sure he isn't still in his office, and I pull the picture out of the wallet. It is a young woman with a little boy who has Ian's eyes and same colored hair. The doorbell rings again. I place the picture back in his wallet and grab a 20. I open the door, and Ian walks up behind me. Hollyn, sit down. I will get that. I walk back over to the couch and sit down. He places the Chinese on the coffee table and then goes to the kitchen, bringing back 2 waters, and I look at them and say, What, no wine? No wine. The last thing I want is for your mom to have my ass because you got drunk and fell, he says, sitting down opening a pack of the chopsticks. He opens up one of the boxes that has broccoli and chicken in it. He grabs a piece of the chicken between the chopsticks and puts it in my mouth. I place my lips around it, taking it into my mouth, and it is so flavorful and juicy. He then takes another piece of chicken between the chopsticks and places it into his mouth. He opens another box, and it has noodles in it. He takes a noodle and holds it up to my mouth, so I take between my lips, sucking the rest of the noodle into my mouth, as I laugh, saying in mid-chew, You do know I can feed myself. He takes a bite and grins, saying, I know, but I like feeding you. After Ian finishes feeding me, we walk into the bathroom. He opens up the shower door and adjusts the water temperature. He walks over to me and helps me undress. First, he pulls my shirt over my head and unhooks my bra. He slowly slides my cotton stretch pants and panties down to my legs, to my ankles, lifting each leg up, and then slips them off. I'm standing naked in front of the large mirror behind the double sinks, so I get a good look at my body and what that bastard has done to me. The bruises and cuts on my face are almost gone, but I have a scar on my stomach from the incision they made in surgery to stop the internal bleeding. I turn slightly and gasp when I see my back. Out of everything, it is the worst, covered in bruises and cuts that are still quite visible. Ian notices me looking at myself in the mirror and says, You are still beautiful, Hollyn. You are just a little bit more fragile is all. He takes the ace bandages off his hand, and I lick my lips, watching him take his clothes off. Ever since I got that feeling back in my lower body, I noticed the sensation is enhanced, and I'm starting to feel the ache between my thighs, wanting him buried inside of me. We step in the shower, and I am breathless looking at this handsome, wet god in front of me, and he is all mine. He places me under the large shower head. It sprays down on me, which feels so refreshing. In the hospital, I have only been able to take a sponge bath, and a real shower feels so good, but a shower with Ian is even better. He reaches over and grabs a bottle of shampoo, which I notice is my shampoo. He must see the look on my face when I see the bottle. I made sure you had all of your things here, so that you feel at home. God, I love him, I think to myself. He starts to wash my hair, then after rinsing it, he grabs my loofah, squirting body wash in it. He slowly and easily washes my breast, down to my stomach, and bends to rub the loofah between my legs. He softly kisses the scar on my stomach. When he stands back up, I see his erection. He doesn't pursue me. He turns me around and washes my shoulders slowly, going down my back, laying soft kisses down the length of my bruises. I should have killed that motherfucker, Ian says. He runs the loofah down my rear, then the back of my legs. He stands back up, and I can now feel his erection kissing my ass. He places soft kisses down my neck. I slightly turn my head and moan over my shoulder. If you start it, you're going to have to finish it. He turns off the water and wraps me in a towel. He takes me to his bed and lays me down and starts massaging my thighs like he does for my therapy. He slowly moves up my legs, and with his thumb, he gently rubs my clit. I can feel myself starting to get wet. He places his head down between my thighs, slowly taking his tongue, sliding it up and down my slit. "Oh, Ian," I say, pulling at his hair. He looks up at me with those gorgeous eyes. "Don't arch your back or I will stop. Do you hear me?" "Yes, please, don't stop," I say through labored breathing. With the enhanced feeling and being aroused, I know it won't take long for me to come. He reaches his hand up and grabs my breast. Then he slowly slides his fingers in me, moving it slowly in and out. As much as I want him to move faster, I don't move my hips because I know he will stop. He does one last flick with his tongue on my clit, making me fight with my body not to move, sending me to a hard orgasm. He moves up my body, not putting his weight on me, and kisses me so tenderly. I whisper, "Thank you." I know it was hard for him to give me an orgasm and not have one for himself. "Anything for you, Angel," he says, getting up. "Where are you going?" I ask him, starting to feel a chill from the warmth of his body suddenly gone. "I have to play doctor. After I give you physical therapy and examine you, I have to give you your medicine," he says with a half smile, walking out of the room naked. He looks like sex on legs, and I pinch myself, making sure I am not dreaming. Ian walks back in the room and gives me a glass of water and my medicine. I swallow it, and then he puts on a pair of his boxer briefs. He walks over to a drawer, pulling out a purple-black lace nightgown. He turns toward me. "I figured after wearing that oversized hospital gown, you would like something a little more comfortable." He walks over to the bed, and I raise my arms, and he slips it on over my head. It feels so soft against my skin. He crawls in bed beside me, and I snuggle up against him, sending me into the deepest sleep I have had in a long time. Chapter 24. "Stop! Don't touch me! Ian, help!" I'm screaming, but nobody comes. Sean continues to hit me one blow after another, and between the blows, I can see the smirk on his face. He then kicks me again and again. He bends down to me, and I can smell the cigarettes and whiskey so strong. He starts to unbutton my shirt, but this time, nobody is coming in to rescue me. I feel blood running out of my ears, out of my nose, down my mouth. "Please stop." I'm begging, and then I whisper, "Ian, please forgive me for leaving." Everything goes to dark, then I start breathing. "Hollyn, wake up," I hear Ian say, but it can't be real because I am dead. "Hollyn, baby, wake up." I hear him again. Then I smell his scent, feel his warmth, and hear his heart beating. When I open my eyes, I am in Ian's arms. "Shh, you're safe." I feel tears running down my face, and I grab him to pull him closer. "Shit, Hollyn," he says under his breath. "It was just a dream. It was just a dream," I repeat, reassuring myself. "I was dead, and you didn't come to my rescue," I say with tears in my eyes. "Hollyn, as long as I have air in my lungs and my heart is beating, I will always be there for you. I love you, Angel." And with those words, I feel my pulse slow, and I become calm. I look up, pulling his face down to me, and kiss him. "I love you too," I say in a whisper. Ian lets out a breath, and we lay in bed holding each other. I lay my head on Ian's chest, falling asleep to the sound of Ian's heartbeat when he says, "Hollyn, never leave me." I close my eyes and say, "I won't." When I wake up the next morning, I inhale a lovely scent that makes my mouth water. I open my eyes to a tray with a single pink carnation, coffee, orange juice, and a plate with Belgian waffles and strawberries. "Good morning, Angel," Ian says as he walks in. I can't take my eyes off of him. He is wearing a dark gray satin drawstring pajama pants, sitting on his hips, exposing his V and the bulge in his pants. "You see something you like, Miss Jacobs," he says with a grin that melts me. "Yes, and as good as this breakfast looks, I would rather have that in my mouth," I say, licking my lips. "You need to eat so you can keep your strength up, but I'm sure something can be arranged," he says, sitting on the bed, putting a strawberry in my mouth. I take a bite, and he kisses me. "What are you wanting to do today?" he asks, feeding me a bite of a waffle. "Cuddle in bed with you all day," I say with a smile. "That is a great idea," he says with a grin. "Before we do that, I need to go over paperwork and make some phone calls." I give him my pouty lips, and he takes my bottom lip between his teeth. After breakfast, Ian gives me my therapy and my leg massage, sending me into my own ecstasy by his touch. After my therapy, he goes into his office to do his work. I grab a book and sit back to read when the doorbell rings. I look around and notice my robe is hanging on the back of the door. I slide it over my arms and walk to the door. When I open the door, Bess is standing in front of me. She looks at me shocked, and then a forced smile comes across her face. "I heard what happened to you. How are you doing?" she asks. "Cut the bullshit, Bess. I know you don't give a shit about me," I say, glaring at her. Her fake smile disappears and she says, "I was stopping by to see Ian. I didn't expect to see you. Where is he?" "Ian is busy right now. I am planning on staying for a while," I say with a grin. She takes a step towards me and says, "You are only here because Ian feels sorry for you, so don't get too comfortable. Once he gets tired of you, he won't give you a second thought." "Jealousy is a bitch, Bess. Ian told me he loves me," I say with a grin. She laughs, throwing her head back and says, "Ian doesn't love anybody. He uses women. You are living in a dream world, Hollyn." I am fuming with anger. Before I can respond, Ian walks up behind me. "Bess, what in the hell are you doing here?" "I came by to see you, but it looks like you're busy," she says, turning to walk away. I take a deep breath, relieved she is leaving. She turns around and yells, "Ian, when you get tired of her, call me." I feel the anger come back full force. I start to storm out the door after her, but Ian grabs me. "Hollyn, stop. You're going to hurt yourself," he says, guiding me back into the house. "I have to go finish up, but it won't be long, and then I'm all yours," he says, placing a quick kiss on my forehead. The shaking I felt inside from anger is going away. Ian walks back into his office. I walk back into the bedroom to read my book when I hear my phone ring. I pick it up off the dresser and answer it. "How are you feeling?" my mom asks. "Fine," I respond, short with her. I'm so angry with her for the way she treated Ian in the hospital. "I just want to let you know that you can come home anytime you want," she says. "That hasn't been my home for years now, and I'm fine staying here," I say, knowing it will make her mad. "I don't think you should be staying with him, Hollyn. You aren't married," she says. I can hear the concern in her voice, which causes me to roll my eyes. "I am not like you, Mom. I'm not going to get knocked up and ruin my life. It's time for my medicine. I have to go," I say, hanging up. My back is starting to hurt from the stress of dealing with Bess and my mom. I walk into the kitchen looking for my medicine, but I can't find it. I walk into Ian's office to ask him where he put it. I notice the door isn't shut all the way, and I hear him on the phone with someone. I put my hand on the door to push it open when I hear him say, I don't care if she's trying to find me. I don't want anything to do with her. He looks up from his desk and sees me standing in the doorway. I'm done discussing this. Don't call me again, he says. I need my medicine, I say. Are you okay? He asks as he's walking over to me. My back is starting to hurt, I say. Go lay down. I will bring it to you and we can cuddle. I walk to the bedroom and get into bed. After Ian hands me my medicine, he lays in the bed with me. I lay my head on his chest, thinking of the conversation I walked in on. Who was looking for you? I ask. I feel his chest rise, and then he lets out a breath. Someone from my past who I don't want anything to do with. He kisses me on my head and says, nothing you have to worry about. I am laying in his arms with my head on his chest, and I can hear his heartbeat, but it feels like he is miles away. I can't help but feel like it's something I have to worry about. Chapter 25. It has been a month since I was released from the hospital. Other than taking me for a walk down the road, Ian won't go anywhere. He tells me he's worried I would do something to hurt my back. He still won't have sex with me. Every time I try to seduce him, he pulls away and says, Hollyn, if I hurt you, I would never fucking forgive myself. I usually just roll my eyes and find a book or a movie to watch. I've enjoyed all of the cuddling with Ian, but I'm starting to feel stronger, and the sensation in my legs and between my thighs has been intense. In the hospital, I was worried about being bound to a wheelchair, but since I've gotten the feeling back in my legs, I've been bound to the house instead. I decided it's time to go back to work. I know Ian isn't going to agree to it, so I've been trying to figure out the right time to tell him. I would be lying if I said that I wasn't nervous about walking back into my office because I haven't been back in there since the attack. We are sitting at the dining room table eating breakfast when I decide to tell him. I think I need to go back to work. Ian puts down his fork and clenches his jaw. Hollyn, I don't think you are ready yet. Ian, I have to go back to work. I can't lose the clients I've worked so hard for, I say. Abby took over my clients, but I know she can't do it much longer as she has her own clients. Hollyn, I don't think you can handle going back there, he says. Ian, are you worried I can't handle it? Or is it because you can't handle it? I ask. I watch the expression on his face change, realizing I was right. I go to the bedroom to get dressed. I choose a hunter green blouse and a black pencil skirt. I go into the bathroom and take off my gown. I turn around to look at my back. The cuts have healed to where they are barely visible, and the bruises are a soft yellow. The bruises on my face have totally disappeared, and the cuts on my lip are gone as well. I brush my teeth and put on my makeup. I am running a brush through my hair when Ian walks in and stands behind me. He wraps his arms around my waist, and I can feel his fullness in his pajama pants rubbing up against my rear. He takes my hair into his hands, moving it to the other side of my neck. He bends down, placing soft kisses along my shoulder, never taking his eyes off of me. I know what you are doing, I say, and my breathing starts to pick up. Since you are feeling better, you could just stay here in bed all day with me, he says, placing his hand on my breast, and I start to feel him getting hard. Ian, I've been going crazy because you have made me wait, so now it's your turn, I say, turning around to his face. I place a kiss on his soft lips, leaving him in the bathroom. I grab my earrings and my watch, and I notice that Ian is still trying to tempt me because when I look over, he is completely naked. I pull my eyes away from him, knowing I need to stay strong. If I give in to him and he wins, then I will have revealed my weakness. After Ian gets dressed, realizing he wasn't going to win this game, this time he drives me to the office. I walk up to the door, but I hesitate to go in. Ian gets out of the car and walks over to me. Hollyn, as much as I want to take you back home, you can do this. You are a strong woman, he says, giving me a kiss. I take a deep breath and open the door. When I walk into my office, the memories flood my head, just like I knew they would. I can do this, I tell myself. I walk over to my desk and turn on my computer. When it comes on, I notice the window is minimized. When I click on it, the article on Hanes Industry I was reading the other day comes up. I scroll down, looking at the articles, when I come across one that said, Hanes charged with domestic abuse. I click on the article and read Thomas Hanes was arrested after police were called to the residence and found Lydia Hanes knocked unconscious. Ian never talks about his parents. I'm coming to the realization why he acted the way he did the night Sean had me by the wrist, and how he reacted to me being attacked. My phone rings, snapping me out of the thoughts. I answer it, and there's a man on the other end. "Miss Jacobs?" he asks. "Yes, this is she," I respond. "This is Detective Miller from the Galilee, Rhode Island Police Department. I am calling you to inform you that a court date has been set for your hearing against Mr. Sean Douglas this Thursday." I feel all of the air leave my body, making it hard to breathe. "Miss Jacobs, you need to be there to give your testimony," the detective says. My heart starts to race at the thought of having to see Sean again. I try to say the word okay, but nothing comes out. "Miss Jacobs, are you still there?" I hear Detective Miller ask. I finally get enough breath in my lungs to spit out, "Yes, I will be there. I will see you Thursday. In the meantime, if anything changes, I will keep you informed," he says. I put my phone on my desk, and I feel like I can breathe again. After working on a few of my clients' cases, I start to feel exhausted. I call Ian to come and pick me up. After we get back to his house, I soak in a hot bath, trying to let the stress of the day fade away. After I'm finished, Ian has the movie, The Lucky One, and a bowl of popcorn. I look at him, trying to figure out how he knows just what I need. We curl up on the couch, holding each other. I am at peace, laying in his arms, so I decide to wait until tomorrow to tell him about Detective Miller's phone call.